All right, everybody. You ready to dive into something kind of wild? We're talking airports today, but not just like any airport.
Hmm.
This is next level stuff.
Yeah, definitely nice level.
Ethiopian Airlines, they're building a new airport outside Addis Ababa.
Okay.
But get this,
Mm.
it's not just an airport. Like, it's not just a terminal. It's a whole city. A
Wow.
whole city built around an airport.
I mean, what?
I know, right?
That's ambitious.
Ambitious is an understatement. We got to talk about that.
Yeah, that's not just adding like a new wing onto an existing terminal. That's a
Oh,
whole,
absolutely not.
it's a whole undertaking.
This is huge, and
Yeah.
it really does feel like, Ethiopian Airlines is trying to make a statement here.
Totally. This is them saying, hey, we are a major player in African aviation. We are here to play the long game.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the specifics here. Our main source today is an article from Fauna Broadcasting Corporate. It came out just a couple of days ago, October 3rd, 2024, and it's titled, New Airport to Boost Connectivity, Make Addis Aviation Hub, CEO. The CEO, that would be Mr. Mesfin Tasso. He's the big boss over at Ethiopian Airlines, and he is quoted in this article as saying, and I quote, "The state-of-the-art airport city is poised to revolutionize air travel in Ethiopia."
Well, I mean, revolutionize, that's a loaded word, right?
Yeah.
It is, but I think they might actually be onto something here because it's not just about adding a few more gates or anything. This really could be a complete game changer. Like they're rethinking what an airport can be and how it can really transform a country's economy.
So, okay, let's get a mental picture of this thing. This new airport city, it's going to be nestled about 40 kilometers outside of Addis Ababa in Bishoftu city. It's projected to handle, are you ready for this?
Hit me.
110 million passengers a year.
Oh my goodness.
110
Let's
million.
put that in perspective.
Yeah, put that in perspective for me because I can't even fathom that.
Okay, so that's basically like building a whole new JFK every year for the next 4 years.
Wow.
That's how many people we're talking about.
That is wild. Okay, so they're obviously banking on a pretty massive increase in air travel, particularly within Africa, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
This isn't just about being a regional hub. This is about being the connecting point for the entire continent.
Yeah.
Maybe even beyond. Totally, yeah. And I keep seeing this phrase pop up in the article, enhancing connectivity. And it makes me think this is about way more than just like cramming in as many flights as possible.
Right. This is where that whole airport city thing comes into play.
Exactly.
It's like building a mini city,
Right.
almost like a self-contained ecosystem. We could be talking logistics centers to move goods super fast, business parks to attract those big international players. Who knows, maybe even some tourist attractions, residential areas.
Wow.
Like picture like a mini Dubai,
Okay.
but with like aviation at its heart right there in Ethiopia.
Yeah, that's wild. It's like they're building a whole new city-state, but dedicated to travel and trade.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting that the CEO, Mesfin Tasso, he specifically calls out the African Continental Free Trade Agreement in connection with this project.
Yeah, that connection is really important.
Okay.
That agreement, if you don't know, it's basically trying to create a single market for goods and services across the entire continent of Africa.
Right.
Make it easier for people to move around, products to move around, and having an aviation hub like this could be the key to making that whole thing actually work.
Totally. It's like
Yeah.
Ethiopia is really setting themselves up to be a leader in all of this.
Absolutely.
So they want to be the gateway to a more connected Africa.
Mm.
But we also have to talk about the challenges here. They've got a goal to increase their destinations from 139 to 207 by 2035.
Okay.
That is a ton of new routes in a pretty short amount of time.
It is.
And that makes me wonder, can they actually pull this off?
That's the big question, isn't
Yeah.
it? I mean, this level of expansion, it needs a ton of investment. We're not just talking about building the airport itself. This is more planes, training staff, building relationships with other airlines. It's
Yeah.
a massive, massive undertaking. So do they have the resources? I mean, is this doable or is it a little pie in the sky?
Right. And even if they can make it happen, what about the environmental impact?
Oh, yeah. That is like the big question looming over all of this, right? I mean, we're talking about building essentially a mini city.
Right.
What does that do to the environment? The article, it kind of glosses over that part, doesn't really get into the nitty-gritty of how they're going to make this sustainable.
Right.
Big question mark. Are they going to be using renewable energy? Are they thinking about like, the design and the operations and making them as efficient as possible?
Yeah.
Those are things that they're going to have to address,
No, absolutely. Big time. But let's shift gears for just a second here and talk about Ethiopian Airlines' track record, because
Yeah.
the article does mention that they are unrivaled in efficiency and operational success. Like, what is that about?
They've definitely got a good reputation. Like in the airline industry, it's really tough to be profitable, and they've consistently managed to do it.
Yeah.
So their operations are top notch.
Mm.
Like they're doing something right over there.
Right.
But like maintaining that while also going through this huge, massive growth spurt, that's going to be the real challenge.
It's like that classic thing, right? Like if you have a really great small business,
Right.
and then suddenly it's like, boom, you're a massive corporation. Can you keep up those same standards?
Yeah, I mean, can you maintain that same level of like care and attention to detail?
Right.
It's tough, and this is going to be a real test for them. And, you know, one of the things that I think is interesting, too, is this idea of their customer service. The article mentions that as well.
Yeah.
Can they maintain that,
With this rapid growth, yeah.
because that's something that they're known for, right? Like, they have really good customer service. But if they're pushing for growth this quickly, will that suffer? It's a balancing act, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's almost like they're placing this huge bet on the future of African aviation, but also on themselves. Like, can they navigate all of the challenges that come with this kind of massive undertaking?
Totally. And, you know, it's not like they haven't had success in the past. They've got this really impressive track record. But again, keeping that going while you're growing at this pace,
Right.
it takes some serious leadership,
Yeah.
some serious organizational skills.
It'll be fascinating to see how they manage it all.
It'll be fascinating. And it really could go either way. This is like a high-stakes game they're playing.
Absolutely. High stakes, but also potentially a really, really big reward.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we're looking at this classic kind of tension between ambition and reality, right? Like, they've got this bold, almost audacious vision for the future of air travel in Africa.
Yeah.
We're talking about an airport city that can handle a mind-blowing number of passengers. It's also going to be a hub for businesses,
Correct.
for logistics,
Exactly.
like maybe even tourism. It's a really interesting case study in how big, ambitious infrastructure projects can totally reshape a country's economic landscape and put them on the map.
Yeah. I mean, this is like textbook,
Yeah.
if they can pull it off. And that's the big if, right?
Right.
The next couple of years, they're going to be absolutely crucial for them because they've got to execute this perfectly.
Yeah.
They need a little luck, and they've probably got to be willing to make some changes along the way.
Definitely. And that's what makes this so interesting to follow.
Totally. I'm hooked. This is like a real nail biter. Like, are they going to stick the landing?
Yeah.
We'll have to see. But the potential here is huge. I mean, this could be like a game changer, not just for Africa, but for the entire aviation industry globally.
Absolutely. And it's a story that we are going to be following very closely. It's like they're saying to the rest of the world, hey, we are a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and it'll be really interesting to see how other countries on the continent react to this, right?
Totally.
Because if this works, if Ethiopian Airlines really manages to pull this off,
Right.
does that spark a whole wave of similar projects?
Yeah. Are we going to see like an airport arms race?
Right, exactly. Not for weapons, but for like who has the best airport?
Yeah.
Who can attract the most business?
Totally.
Who can become that central hub? It's fascinating. It really is.
It is. And it kind of feels like Ethiopian Airlines is putting their money where their mouth is, you know?
Absolutely.
They're saying, we believe in the future of Africa.
We're all in.
Yes. We are all in on this. Well, I think that about wraps it up for us today, right?
I think so. We've covered a lot of ground.
We really have, yeah. We talk about the sheer size and scope of this airport city, the potential economic impact.
The environmental concerns, which are huge.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. And then even just like the geopolitics of it all.
Right. Who's going to come out on top in this new world order? It's fascinating.
It really is, yeah. Ethiopian Airlines, they're definitely one to watch. This could be a real turning point for them and for the whole continent.
No doubt. This is a story we will be following very closely.
And we want to hear from you. What do you think about this? Is Ethiopian Airlines making a smart move?
Are they being way too ambitious?
Hit us up on social media. Let us know. This is a conversation we want to keep having. And on that note, we are going to land this plane.
Safe travels, everybody.
Until next time.